Welcome to Influential Sports, where passion meets precision. I'm your host, Ed, diving deep into the plays, players, and stories shaping the game. And this is my NFL predictions video for the 2025-26 season. I think we're in store for a really good season. I think it's going to be some surprises, some shocking things that's going to happen. And I'm going to get started with the NFC South with my predictions for that division because I think, and then there's a few controversial picks on here, but it's always a surprise each season. So for the NFC South, I'm gonna start with who I have winning the division. I think the Buccaneers win the division once again with an 11-6 record. I think Hassan Reddick is going to be a really helpful impact to their defense. I think he's going to be great. I see Bucky Irvin having a really good season. I think he had a good year last year, and I expect him to be even better. Then they still got Baker. They got Mike Evans, who's had 11 straight 1,000-yard seasons. I think he'll get there again this year. And with Mike Evans, with Baker Mayfield, with how well he's played over the last few years, I don't see that slowing down at all. I think that continues, and I think they finish with an 11-6 record, win the division once again, head back to the playoffs. And this division, I don't think it's going to be super hard for them to win because the other teams in there, I just don't see them being much competition. I do think that the Panthers and Falcons are being a bit of a battle. I think the addition of McMillan alongside already having Xavier Legette from last year, I think that's going to be really impactful. And then you're going to have a healthy J.C. Horn and Derek Brown on your defense. So I think this Panthers team can go 9-8 and be a game out the playoffs, which I'll discuss how they missed the playoffs later in the video. But I think they'll be one game out of making the playoffs. I think Bryce Young will have a good season. During the last few weeks of last season, Bryce Young looked good. I think the Falcons go 8-9. I don't know what to expect from Michael Penix. I do think Jalen Walker will have a great season. Then you obviously got the big three of Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, and Drake London. But I don't know what to expect from Michael Penix, so I can't put a lot of faith into what the Falcons are going to do, even though I do think they could be decent. But after putting trust in them last season to win the division, I'm not putting trust in the Falcons again. Now, if they surprise me and do better than 89, then cool. I hope they do. But I don't expect much, but I think the Falcons and Panthers, they'll be in a tight battle for second in the division and potentially be one of those teams to get that last playoff spot. I don't think it'll happen, but I think they'll both be close. Then I do see the Saints going on 17. This is easily the worst quarterback room in the league. Don't trust their kicker either. And then Chris Olave and Chase Young are consistently injured. Obviously, Chris Olave's had a lot of concussions. And Chase Young, he's just been injury prone throughout his career, despite how good he is. It's just he's never on the field. So it's like with such a terrible quarterback room, with the injury history that they have, that it's unfortunately inevitable at this point. Like I hope they don't get injured, but it's like it's been a constant theme throughout both their careers. Then you don't have a reliable kicker. Like I would seriously see this team going on 17. I think at most they win 4 games. That's at most. But I seriously think the Saints go 0-17 and make history, being the first team in the 17-game era to go winless. So in the NFC South, I got the Bucks finishing at 11-6, the Panthers going 9-8, the Falcons going 8-9, and the Saints going 0-17. Now let's move over to the NFC North, which I think in this one, the NFC North is going to be interesting, especially with the addition of Michael Parsons to the Packers, with the Lions getting a fully healthy Aiden Hutchinson back, with the Bears having Ben Johnson as the head coach now. And then you got the Vikings, who just lost Sam Darnold, who I wasn't the biggest fan of. But I'm going to start with the Bears. I do think Caleb Williams will be better. This team won 4 games last year. I think having Ben Johnson as their head coach is going to help this team. I think they go 8-8-1. I think they do have a tie. I think they tie with the Vikings in week 1. Now, obviously, ties, that's hard to predict, but I can see that happening. I think they have a 500 season going 8-8-1. I expect Caleb Williams to improve. I like the addition of Ben Johnson as the head coach after seeing what he did for the Lions. I think this team is on their way to a playoff push, not this year, but if they can go 8, if they can get 8 wins this year, whether that's 8-9, whether that's 8-1, as I'm predicting, I think this is going to set them up well for the future and what they can do in the coming years with Caleb Williams and all the pieces that they have built around him. For the Lions, with Aiden Hutchinson being back, you still have an elite offense led by Jared Goff, with Jamar Gibbs, with Amon-Ra St. Brown, with Sam Laporta. I think this team is going 13-4. I think they're gonna have one of the best seasons. I think they're gonna be a top team in the NFC again. And obviously a healthy Aiden Hutchinson is gonna help that, of course. So I definitely see that happening. I see the Lions having a really good season once again. And as far as what happened in the playoffs, who knows? But I think regular season, this team's going to establish dominance. I don't see them losing too many games. They might lose a few within the division and even in the conference, but I see them. I see them going 13-4 this year. I really like this Lions team. Despite them losing Ben Johnson, I think the Lions will be. I think the Lions will be fine. For the Packers, I think getting Matthew Golden was a very welcome addition. As you need a wide receiver one, and I think Matthew Golden could be that. Excuse me. They do have multiple injuries going into the year, which I think could affect them within these first 2 weeks of the season. And I could see them starting 0-2, but I do think they finish with a 10-7 record. And I made my predictions before the Michael Parsons trade. So if anybody comes at me, I did make this prediction before Michael Parsons got traded there. What happened 9-7 before he got traded there? Then it was one game I decided to change because I was like, yeah, they'll definitely win that. So I'm 10-7 to be safe. I think they finish second in the division. But I think the Michael Parsons addition is great. And even if the Packers do end up in the wild card, they could definitely upset somebody in that whoever is the 3 seed. Like they could go into the playoffs in 6 and upset the 3 seed. Like that wouldn't be a surprise. Like this Packers team, I don't think it makes them pretenders with Micah, but it is steps in the right direction. So I do like the move. Then for the Vikings, I think what the biggest question mark with the Vikings is J.J. McCarthy and how will he perform. We know he was good in college, but what is he gonna bring to the table? Like obviously Sam Darnold did a good job. We've seen him in the NFL before. J.J. McCarthy, this is his first time seeing him in the NFL spotlight. So I could see the struggles throughout the season with him missing his full first season due to injury. And then you don't have Jordan Addison in the first 3 weeks, which I think is going to be important. Like I said, I think they tout the Bears, and then they lose their next 2 games after that. And I can see them winning those international games that they got against the Steelers and Browns. I think those are going to be really important wins so they can get those. But I see the Vikings going 6-10-1. And then you're going to have to get Jordan Addison reacclimated to the lineup. You have questions with your field goal kicker, who I don't know if you can put complete trust in him. So I see the Vikings going 6-10-1. Despite all the talent they have, I think this is going to be a setback year for them, and they're going to regroup and see what they need to do going into next season. And so for the NFC North, I got the Lions finishing first at 19-4, the Packers at 10-7, and the Packers and Lions both go to the playoffs. The Bears at 8-8-1, the Vikings at 6-10-1. Now for the NFC West, I think this is going to be relatively competitive, like within the division. I do think the Cardinals, despite them being fully healthy, their kicker is mediocre with Chad Ryland, but I do think Marvin Harrison will improve. But I just don't think the schedule that they have favors them. I can see the Cardinals going 6-11 this year, and them being the worst team in the NFC West. Like I don't see them doing much of anything this year. And then for the Seahawks, you got Sam Darnold, who, like I said, I don't trust Sam Darnold. Like he had a good season, but it wasn't something that sold me as he's one of these top quarterbacks now. Like he got to show consistency, and he had to be consistent throughout his career. The defense is decent enough, I guess, and you got an older Cooper Kupp, who he is going to help, but you got to keep in mind that he's older too. So how reliable is he going to be? Because obviously he was injured a bit in the last 2 seasons, if I'm not mistaken. And Cooper Kupp, he's great. We know what he can do, but I think the Seahawks, I think they go 8-9. They can win more games than that if Sam Darnold can replicate what he did last year. But he doesn't have a Justin Jefferson on his team, so I don't see him doing that with the Seahawks team. They could be decent. They could be one of the teams that's almost in the playoffs, but I don't see them making the playoffs. Then for the Rams, I think they go 11-6. You got a welcome addition of Devontae Adams. Well, even though he's not prime Devontae Adams, he's still going to be good. And even though you have an older Stafford, having Devontae Adams is going to help as well. Then you got Jared Verse on defense, which I think that's going to be elite. And I think he's going to have an even better season than what he did last year. And this Rams team will go 11-6 and win the division. That leaves me with the 49ers, who, despite not having Debo, they're getting back Christian McCaffrey for a full season. Brandon Ayuk is the wide receiver 1, which I think he'll do decent in. And I see the 49ers are going 9-8. I think the 49ers and Rams both make the playoffs. I think the 49ers barely get in the playoffs with a win that they get against against the Panthers because of Panthers and 49ers I have the same record, but the 49ers do have a tiebreaker over them to get into the playoffs. So that in my prediction, so that's what I would go with. And now for the NFC East, this one I think. Now for the Cowboys, I already was predicting that Michael Parsons was gonna get traded. I just didn't know where to, so I do have them going 5-12. Obviously, you got George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb now, along with Dak, who is really good. But Michael Parsons is out the door now. You had a problem stopping the run. That's gonna have even more trouble with that now. You got Javonte Williams at running back, but it's gonna be better than what they had last season. But I still don't see this team doing much. Like I don't have much confidence in this team. And I think with so much money being tied to Dak and CeeDee Lamb, it's going to be hard to build a contender team in Dallas. Now with the Giants, their defense did improve. Obviously, you got Malik Neighbors and Tyrone Tracy on offense. But the quarterback room is so weird that I think they're going 4-13 again. They either went 4-13 or something similar to that last season. I don't think the Giants are terrible. I just think it's going to be hard for them to win games with the weird quarterback room and situation that they have. I think that's going to get really messy throughout the season, and that's going to hinder them. But once Russell Wilson is out the door, and because they drafted Jackson Dart, I think of Jackson, like obviously Russell Wilson, he's a legend, but I think his time has come to an end. Like he's probably retiring soon. So I think the sooner you got Jameis Winston as well. Like it's a really weird quarterback room, so I don't know what's going on in New York. But I don't see them winning many games, but I think they'll be in a better situation from last year, where they lose a lot of games, but they're in a lot of close ones. So that's what I see from the Giants this year. Then for the Commanders and Eagles, I had them with the same record, but I had the Eagles winning the division, and I've had them both going 14-3, but I think the Eagles go 5-1 in the division, while the Commanders go 4-2. Now they do split with each other. I see that happening, but I think the Eagles will win the division by having a game better in division record. So obviously with the Eagles, our defense did get a bit worse, but our offense, we still have everybody on offense. And I don't think our defense is going to be terrible. It won't be the decline that we've seen in 2023 after going to that first Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts and how everybody left. I don't think it's going to be similar to that. Then with the Commanders, you added Deebo Samuel, who along with Terry McLaurin, who you already had, who Deebo might not be what he once was, but that's still a welcome addition to the Commanders, who's going to help them out a lot. And I think Jaden Daniels will improve. I think he's really going to hit his stride. Like obviously, it's a lot of pressure on him, but I definitely think that's realistic, and that's what's likely to happen. And so I think they both go 14-3 this season, but the Eagles win by being a game better in their division games, winning one more division game than the Commanders do. So for the playoffs, I have the Eagles going 14-3 as the first seed, the Lions 13-4, second seed, Rams 11-6 as the third seed, Bucks 11-6 as the fourth seed, Commanders 13-4 as the fifth seed, Packers 10-7 as the sixth seed, and 49ers 9-8 as the seventh seed. And here's the tiebreakers and how I did this. The Rams on the head-to-head tiebreaker by beating the Bucks in Week 12. The Eagles and Commanders split the season series, but the Eagles go 5-1 in the division, while the Commanders go 4-2. Then the Panthers and 49ers both go 9-8, and a tie for the final spot, but the 49ers get it with a Week 13 win versus the Panthers, which is how they end up with the 7th seed. So those are the tiebreaker scenarios and how I came down to that conclusion to making the NFC playoffs and what I expect to happen. Now for the AFC side, this might shock some people, but I think when you having the running back duo that you got in Jacksonville, start with the AFC South, with the running back duo you got in Jacksonville, with Cam Little being as good as he is one of the best kickers, I think they're gonna win a lot of close games because of Cam Little, and adding Travis Hunter, he's gonna have to play both sides, but I think he's mainly gonna be my offense, and I think that's gonna be great for Jacksonville. I see Trevor Lawrence playing how he did when he led the Jaguars to the playoffs, and I think they get back there. I think they go 10-7 with this squad that they got. I like this squad. I like what they did in the offseason. And I think having a kicker as lead as Cam Little just in the second year, he's gonna build him out in a lot of close games. So they might not get far in the playoffs, but I think this is a sign in the right direction. And I think this could be a consistent thing for the years to come in Jacksonville being on top of the division or just being in the playoff hunt on a consistent basis. I see that. I see them going 10-7 and winning the AFC South. Now the Indianapolis Colts, the 2-15, you have nothing. Like everything is a question mark with this team. Your quarterback room is shitty. You have Daniel Jones starting instead of Anthony Richardson, and even Anthony Richardson isn't the best option. I talked about this on my podcast. You just have a shitty quarterback room. The wide receiver core is bad. Michael Pittman Jr. is really solid, but aside from him, it's like isn't Alec Pierce is the wide receiver too, if I'm not mistaken. It's like this team got a lot of question marks. They're winning 2 games. They're winning 2 games this season. The Tennessee Titans have already said them. I think Cam Ward is going to have a solid rookie year. The team's just bad. I see the Titans going 6-11 though. I think Cam Ward is going to be good enough to get this team 6 wins, maybe 7, but I see them going 6-11. Then the Texans, with them, I think the defense improved a bit, but the wide receiver core I feel like has question marks. I'm hoping CJ Stroud can have a bounce back year, but I just think like their schedule isn't like the most difficult, but I see them going 9-8. Like they're still gonna be an over 500 team, but I think the Jaguars are just be better this year. Like I think they have a few questions to answer with their wide receiver core. Like obviously you just lost Stephon Diggs, who he was injured, so I don't know why he left to begin with and went to the Patriots. But the team will be solid, but I don't think they'll make the playoffs. I think the Jaguars are the only team in the South that's making the playoffs, but I think this could be good for the Texans because even if they make the playoffs, they can't run into the Ravens. They lost to them back-to-back years. But I do want to see, I think they play the Ravens again this season in Baltimore. So I think that game is going to tell. They played them in week 5, so I think that's going to tell me a lot about the Texans who have lost to the Ravens in back-to-back playoffs and on Christmas. So they're on a 3-game losing streak versus the Ravens. So that week 5 game I'm really looking forward to, especially with it being in Baltimore, because I think that's going to answer all questions that I have about this team. Now let's move to the AFC North. And speaking of the Ravens, I think rookie kicker Tyler Loop is going to be good. I seen him in preseason. He looks solid. Adding D-Hop as wide receiver 2 or 3, wherever you want to place him, and you already have that. Like he's not going to come in and be the wide receiver 1 because you still got Zay Flowers. But whether you place him like the 2 or the 3, he's still going to be serviceable because he's not playing the wide receiver 1. He's playing either 2 or 3, depending on how you look at Rashad Bateman. And that's not a bad thing. That's a really good thing for this team. Then you add Jair Alexander to the defense, low risk, high reward. So, but you ain't paid too much for him. I see this Raven team going 14-3, and then I think the Bengals bounce back. And I'm not even the biggest Joe Burrow fan, but I think the Bengals bounce back. He just had an MVP caliber season last year. The only reason why he didn't get it is because his team wasn't in the playoffs. They were struggling to get the 7th seed. But if his team if they had a defense, he would have been MVP. And I think their defense it's still not the best, but it's at least mid. I think their defense would be at least mid instead of just god awful last year. Obviously, Chase Brown's still running back 1, so maybe he can improve. Maybe. And you do have multiple injuries, but you have a healthy Joe Burrow and just him and Jamar Chase. Like that combo is so lethal. Like I don't think they'll win the division, but I think they're back in the playoffs this season. I think that started the last few seasons kind of rough. I see them starting the season 3-0. They got the Browns, the Jaguars, and the Vikings in the first 3 weeks, and 2 of those games on the road. But I see them starting the season 3-0. I think it's going to be some ups and downs throughout the first few weeks of the season. Like through the first up to that bye week, I think they'll be 6-3 by the bye week they have in week 10. So this team, I'm really looking forward to. This team is going to be exciting to watch. I think they get back in the playoffs. Joe Burrow hasn't been in the playoffs the last few years, the Bengals in general, and the Bengals want to get back to that spot. Now the Cleveland Browns, you already have 6 players on IR, so that's cool. The wide receiver room sucks. Joe Flacco is starting. Yeah, 3-13-1. I think by the time Shador is starting, which I think he will by week 14 when they play the Titans, I think he will show up and show out in that game and they'll win that. Then I could see them winning their last two games of the season versus Steelers and the Bengals just because it's within the division. And the AFC North always get gritty like that. But that one tie I think happens against the Steelers in week 7. But yeah, 3-13-1. This team not good. Then the Steelers, even though you added Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf, and you got a good defense, I don't see this team winning many games. Maybe my expectations are just too low for the Steelers in general, but I see them going 6-10-1. Now somehow they might win 8 games, but I just looking at their schedule, I don't see a world where they win 8 games, win 9 games, and stay above 500 or stay at 500 once again. Like if they go 8-8-1, like that wouldn't be crazy. But if they go over 500, I'd be shocked. Like I see them winning 6 games, and I think that's the minimum. I think that's the floor. They could win more than that, but I don't see them being a playoff team. I just don't think that's realistic for this team. So for this AFC North, you got the Ravens at 14-3, the Bengals at 11-6, and both of them are going to the playoffs. The Steelers at 6-10-1, and Browns at 3-13-1. So yes, I see a tie in both conferences. That's my predictions, though. For the AFC West, 3 teams are going to the playoffs once again. I think that's obvious, and I don't even think I had to say those names. But I'm gonna start with the Raiders first. I think Ashton Jeanty is gonna have a good season. Geno Smith is gonna be solid, and I like the defense. I think they go 7-10. I don't know who the backup quarterback is, but if they get a quarterback in the draft for next year to be the backup to Geno and just learn from Geno Smith for a year or two, because I don't think Geno got too much longer left. But I think this team is solid enough to win 7 games and show that they got potential to do more in the future. So I do think they finished last in the division, but I've seen them winning 7 games. Then the Chargers, I think they go 11-6. Najee Harris being running back 2 is interesting. Maybe I read that wrong, but he was on the depth chart as running back 2. Still got Quentin Johnson, who isn't good, but like the team reminds me of their team from last year, but the team is still good. So I see them going 11-6. Like this team is going. Like I think this team goes 11-6 and goes to the playoffs once again. Like I think we're gonna get a good season out of Justin Herbert. Quentin Johnson, he might sell Herbert again, which that happens. I feel bad, but I see them going 11-6. Then for the Chiefs and Broncos, I see them both going 12-5, and I'll explain how the Chiefs win the division later in the video. But the Broncos adding J.K. Dobbins and Evan Ingram, I think that's just gonna help the progression of Bo Nix. Obviously, J.K. Dobbins going to be the running back 1, but I think adding Evan Ingram as the tight end, that's going to be a benefit to Bo Nix, and he's going to progress. Like I know a lot of people are expecting Jayden Daniels to progress, and I do too, but I think Bo Nix is going to progress just as well. Maybe not to the level that Jayden Daniels will, but I think he's going to progress as well. Like we can't let that fly under the radar. Then the Chiefs, I think Patrick Mahomes bounces back. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to have a phenomenal season. Even with Rashee Rice being suspended those first 6 weeks, I think they could go 4-2. I think they only lose to the Chargers and the Lions in those first 6 weeks. I think they beat my Eagles. I think it's gonna be an Arrowhead. I think they're gonna get revenge there. They're beating the Giants for sure, no matter where it's played. I think they beat the Jags, and I do think they'll beat the Ravens, especially with it being an Arrowhead. That might be a game where the refs come into play. But I see the Chiefs and Broncos both going 12-5, and the Chiefs winning the division. So I had the Chiefs at 12-5, the Broncos at 12-5, the Chargers at 11-6, Raiders at 7-10, and I got the Chiefs, Broncos, and Chargers all going to the playoffs, which I'll explain the tiebreaker later after I get finished with the AFC East and my predictions for that. AFC East, the Dolphins I got going 5-12. The QB room is weird, and you don't know what you're going to expect out of Tua. Your kicker is on IR for some reason. I don't know how that happened. You added Darren Waller. That's not moving me. The Patriots, there's a lot of hype about the Patriots going to the playoffs. I'm not buying it, but I do think they finish second in this division. I see the Patriots going 8-9. I think it's going to be a sign in the right direction. I can see them winning 9 games, but I do see them going 8-9. I don't think they make the playoffs, but I think Drake May will look good. Add Stephon Diggs was a good decision. I still don't know how I feel about Ramondre Stevenson. I don't know if he's the most trustworthy running back one. That might be something they look into next. Like he got a wide receiver one now, but Ramondre Stevenson, he had some good runs, but is he really trustworthy? I don't know. We'll see about that. But I think they go 8-9. They're gonna show some signs of some good stuff this year. The Bills, I think they go 14-3. I think Keon Coleman gonna prove why he's him. I think it's simple as that. Then the Jets, 5-12. The Jets aren't doing anything. The defense progressed. You got a healthy Breece Hall, Justin Fields. I think it's going to look solid, but I don't see this team winning many games. Just like how well I think Justin Fields may play, this team isn't winning many games. So in the AFC East, you got the Bills at 14-3, being the only team to make the playoffs. You got the Patriots at 8-9. You got the Jets at 5-12, and the Dolphins at 5-12. Then to explain now for the playoffs, I got the Ravens as the first seed, 14-3. Bills, that's the first seed. That's the second seed is 14-3. Chiefs, third seed, 12-5. Jaguars, fourth seed, 10-7. Broncos, fifth seed, 12-5. Chargers, sixth seed, 11-6. And Bengals, seventh seed, 11-6. Now the Chiefs and Broncos both go 12-5 and also go 3-3 in their division. And they also split the season series. But I think the Chiefs go 4-1 versus the NFC, while the Broncos go 3-2 versus the NFC, which gives the tiebreaker to the Chiefs. Now for the Bills and the Ravens get the head-to-head win in week 1, which is going to matter later on in the season for the first seed. So I think that win is going to be the sole. Whoever wins that game, I feel like it's getting the first seed because I see both teams going 14-3. Now the Jets and Dolphins ones isn't really important, but because they both. But I think the Dolphins will go 1-5 in the division, while the Jets go 2-4 in the division. So the Jets will get the third seed in their division instead of fourth, despite them having the same record. Then for the Bengals and Chargers, I don't know how for that sixth spot, the records are so similar the way I did it because there's no head-to-head between them. But I had them both going 3-3 in the division, both going 3-2 versus the NFC, both going 8-4 against the conference. So I didn't know how to figure out the tiebreaker for that last spot, for those last two spots, and who got 6 and who got 7. But the Chargers win their Week 18 game, and the Bengals lose theirs, so that's what I used to determine it. So I had the Bengals losing to the Browns, and I had the Chargers beating the Broncos. So I just gave the Chargers a 6 seed and the Bengals a 7 because I didn't want to go into strength of schedule and all that. I just felt like that was way too much to get into. But those are my predictions. And then for award predictions, like I said, Patrick Mahomes is bouncing back this year. I have Patrick Mahomes winning MVP. I think he's going to have a phenomenal season. And I see, despite what they're seeing, even with Rashee Rice, I think those first 6 weeks is going to be important. If they can start 4-2, that's just going to add to his case. For Offensive Player of the Year, I went with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like I said, I think the Lions are going to be phenomenal this season, have another great year, and they're going to get rewarded with an Offensive Player of the Year candidate. I think he's going to be he's already one of the best receivers in the league, and I think he's on his path to having an all-pro year. Defensive Player of the Year, this is a hot take, but I'm going to go with Vita Vea for the Bucs. He's had a really good career, and I think this is going to be the year that he gets rewarded with DPOY. I think he's going to have a good season, leading the Bucs on the defensive end and leading them to obviously, I think they're going to go 11-6, win the division, and I think that defense is going to be led by him. For Offensive Rookie of the Year, I'm going to go with Travis Hunter. Like I said, if the Jags are on a playoff team, and they got to get rewarded for something. Somebody has to be the reason they got there, and I think Travis Hunter is going to be amazing offensively and really help this team out. So I think he's getting more snaps on the offensive end. For Defensive Rookie of the Year, I'm going with Jalen Walker. Despite the Falcons not making the playoffs, I think them going 8-9 and him just having a really good season, it's realistic for him to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. For Protector of the Year, the Eagles got the best offensive line in football still, so I think Lane Johnson is going to get it. I think Lane Johnson will be rewarded with that, especially if the Eagles have this good of a season. Like, I don't see Jalen Hurts being pressured much, and I don't see him taking a lot of sacks. For Comeback Player of the Year, I'm going with Chris McCaffrey. He's been in this race a few times just because his injury history, but I think he will have a good season. I think he will stay healthy this year. That's what I'm banking on, and I think he'll win comeback player of the year. For coach of the year, I see Sean Payton winning it. Despite the Broncos finishing second in their division and getting just the fifth seed in the playoffs, and they have the exact same record as the Chiefs, then I could see a world where he wins coach of the year, especially with them improving from they went 10-7 last year. So a 2-game improvement, but that 2-game improvement being them damn near winning the division is very impressive. They were just a game away from winning it. So that's how I see it playing out. Then for Super Bowl predictions, I see the Eagles going back to the Super Bowl, but I don't see us winning it. I think the Ravens win it. I think this is the year that Lamar Jackson finally gets it done. And I think the Ravens win the Super Bowl and Lamar Jackson wins Super Bowl MVP. So those are my NFL predictions. I expect this season to be exciting, be fun, be unpredictable. So leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, comment y'all predictions for the season, and let me know what y'all thought. And share for others to see. Peace.